And so the next item on the agenda is the draft outline for amendments to the Christchurch Central Recovery Plan for the multi-use arena. We've had a briefing on this prior to the lockdown, and so now it's an opportunity to get this moving. And so if I hand over to, I'm not sure who's taking us through this. Is it David Griffiths, or who's the lead on this one, Dawn?
David Faulkner, is it David?
Yeah. I'm here.
Okay, sorry.
Yep, it's all right. Yeah, hello, Councillor. So David Faulkner, Team Leader, City Planning here. So this is a report to approve a draft outline for a process to amend the Christchurch Central Recovery Plan in respect of the multi-use arena, and have that sent to strategic partners. Now, the reason for bringing this to you today is there's a number of steps that we need to take to make this amendment, and those steps are time-bound in the Greater Christchurch Regeneration Act, and thus, if we don't start the process soon, it could impact on whether we can start the construction of the multi-use arena within the timeframes that we're trying to do that. So this is a report to progress those steps. The main issue that we're looking at is the issue of noise around the stadium, and how we can mitigate that noise, but also how we can ensure that the stadium will help with the regeneration of that part of the central city. The reason why we're using the Greater Christchurch Regeneration Act process is because we need to amend the designation that was put in place by the recovery plan. So in order to amend that designation, we need to change the recovery plan. Now, the amendment bill that is before Parliament at the moment for the Greater Christchurch Regeneration Act, that doesn't change this process at all, so we can continue with this process. The only potential change is that the role of Regenerate Christchurch in this process will revert back to Council if that amendment bill is passed, but the actual steps don't change at all. Yeah, I'm happy to take any questions if any councillors have any questions.
Sorry, it's... Sorry, I'm just struggling to get my computer screen working. So, who has questions?
May I ask one question?
Yes, you can ask a question, Jimmy.
Okay. Regarding to the paragraph 5.2, the staff will continue review those noise issue. I would like to know what is the time frame. Paragraph 5.2, second part of your noise, mitigate the noise standard. Yeah. So what's the time frame? Yes.
Yep. So we've outlined a bit of a time frame in it's in the attachment. It's page 5 of the attachment. I think it's page 18 on your agendas. Now that sets out the process that we'll be following for this amendment. We are intending to have the amendment drafted by sort of halfway through the second half of this year, and have public consultation as part of that. We've already started discussions with VBase and with other. Well, and VBase have actually started discussions with concert promoters. It's actually been quite a good time actually with the lockdown. Actually, there's a lot of concert promoters around the world that have a lot of time on their hands at the moment. So we're actually starting conversations with them about what can work for them in terms of the noise. So we're having promising conversations with them, and we will come back to you with the potential changes to the noise provisions. So the decision today is just about approving the draft process and getting input from strategic partners on that, and then we will come back to you later this year with the actual amendments once the draft process has been approved by the Minister.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your answer. Yeah.
I think people, are there any other questions?
Yes, thank you.
Yanni?
Yeah, thanks. I was just looking at the time frame on page 18, and I was just a little bit confused. So I'm just trying to understand, like, this isn't the amendments that we're approving today, but then it says the outline goes to regenerate Christchurch, and I'm just wondering whether there's enough detail in here to be clear about what we're actually trying to do. I mean, when do we get the specifics in terms of a greater sense of detail about what we're trying to achieve? And related to that is, when we've previously been briefed, there's been other concerns raised about things like the traffic impacts, which I see no discussion of in here. And I would have thought if we were changing the district plan, then we should be thinking about not just noise, but other aspects that are likely to require plan changes at the, concisely together.
Yep. So there's a question. So this is a two-step process, and that's set out in the Regeneration Act. So we have to have this outline first, and yes, this outline doesn't have any detail in terms of what the specific changes are, because the outline is primarily just outlining the process that we will follow to come up with those changes. So we have to do that, and we have to get that approved by the Minister, and it has to go through Regenerate Christchurch, it has to go through all the strategic partners before we can actually do the amendments. And then, so the second step will be actually doing the amendments and bringing those back to you later in the year. So that's why we need to get this moving, because there's all these different steps to make this change. So we will have more detail when we come back to you. And as I say, we've already started discussions with concert promoters and so forth to try and get that detail. So we will definitely have more detail later in the year. In terms of all the other issues, yes, there is other issues that we're working on, and we at this stage, noise is the only issue that we have identified that needs a district plan change. There are other issues, and you've raised transport as one, that we are working on. We are confident at this stage that we can deal with those through our existing road controlling authority provisions. We can provide changes to the streets and changes to parking that we need to deal with those transport effects. But we are working on those at the moment. If anything changes, we'll definitely come back to you and make sure that we have all the powers we need. But at this stage, we don't believe we need any extra powers in that regard.
And the final question was, I did send through ahead of the meeting, but we've previously had a briefing about appointing the trustees to the Stadium Trust. So I'm just wondering where that's got
that's
to.
That's not a question for
no, it's a question for the
chief
executive.
To this paper, but it's not for now. We'll come back to you on that. I mean, there is still a process to go through in relation to that. So, but it's not on the agenda today.
I guess wouldn't you want that group kind of being involved in the process from as soon as possible?
I think there is a good case to have the chief executive appointment to proceed as quickly as possible. Well, not the chief executive, the chair's appointment to proceed as quickly as possible. Yes, I agree. In terms of the process during a lockdown, beyond that, I don't know that. I don't know that it can go wider than that. But Dawn, would you like to just quickly update on that process? Because I think it is important that we go ahead with that as soon as possible, and I think we could deal with that at the next meeting, perhaps. Dawn?
That's exactly what I was about to say, Mayor. Following discussions, I believe we can bring this to our next council meeting, which is the 23rd of April, to appoint the chair. And I would like to do the briefing into members before then.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? All right. Do I have somebody? Well, I'll move it just so it's easier for everyone. Do I have a seconder?
I'll second.
I'll second.
Who was that? Who seconded it?
Anne Galloway.
Anne Galloway. Anne Galloway. Is there any discussion? I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no.
Aye.
That's carried. Lovely. Thank you very much.